Well, hello, you beautiful, wonderful people, you. Welcome, welcome. Good day, good afternoon, good evening. Whenever you're watching this, whether you're watching this immediately after it drops on anchor.fm or the YouTube channel Wise Woman Podcast, I welcome you, you magnificent people, you wonderful people that you can go through anything and still love, learn, live, and want to flourish. Now, if that's not magnificent, I don't know what is. So my name is Amaya Victoria, and you're listening to Wise Woman Podcast. With me today, I have a very interesting gentleman. His name is Scott Ware, Ware. He is the owner. Is this correct, Scott?
Owner, publisher, all of that.
And editor and owner of Radiance Magazine out here in Southern California. It's the largest magazine that we have out here. It's a wellness magazine, meaning it is leaning towards and bent towards the holistic or the whole community itself. And in this process, he takes in all sorts of different walks of life: healthy restaurants, yoga, meditation studios, metaphysical, and crystal stores, and cool coffee houses. That's really interesting to me. His mission, because I like coffee, okay. His mission is to amplify what wellness practitioners are doing for our well-being, help people align with their highest purpose, and support their expansion as beautiful souls. And I think that's the real talk today.
Beautiful souls.
Beautiful souls, wonderful beings. Years ago, Spirit has said to me, everyone is part of the webbing. And there will be many that will stand behind the healers, but be pushing that light, that wave forward. At the time, the concept was that you're not like the butler, that you're also part of that whole light flow, that whole light wave that is now so prevalent on our planet. Even though it appears to have come through great darkness, it's still the light wave that is finally opened up like a big maw of a mouth and going, whoa, and it's trying to get us all swallowed up again with the balance of the darkness. We still have to have that balance of light and dark. Mm-hmm. So Scott, I noticed also, and I didn't print it out, that you put about the Radiance Magazine multidimensional. Was it multidimensional?
Media.
I caught that and I forgot to write it down. It's like, that is your last statement, the whole thing, the fact that you are doing this for the people, not just for those of us who want to help the people, but for all of us, because we're the people too, right? Mm-hmm. Like I said, I want to find out there's coffee shops and I need good foot reflexologists. So there we go. Yeah. I want to remind all of you that as much as I am very prolific at what I do, I'm very proficient, I am human, and so is Scott. We all have things.
You bet.
And for the healing community to make that wrong is not right.
Sure.
Because it's all lessons, isn't it, Scott? So I want to talk about that last statement, but first thing, what I was thinking this morning as I was preparing internally to speak with you, is I kept getting tapped on the shoulder to ask you who Scott was before all this. Now, you don't have to go into, we don't have to do a whole biography on you. And what happened? Was it sudden? Was it gradual? Was it always? And just other things? You tell us.
I'd say the short answer is yes to all that. It was gradual and it was quick and it was, and this, stops and starts. I was a sensitive kid growing up. And I'm sure a lot of people watching you can relate. Sensitive, empathic, not great boundaries, didn't understand people, didn't understand why everyone didn't feel the way I did, why I was, generally kind person. And when you come across someone who's not, or if you attract bullies, because I have that part of the dynamic at one time, and, you're like, why is this happening? So I've always been relatively spiritual. I mean, I grew up Catholic, but even my mother was a little bit expanded Catholic, if you will. And I had an aunt, her sister rather, who was a nun, but she practiced Reiki. They allowed her to study and practice Reiki. And then I had a great uncle who was a priest who could actually
Hold
move
it right
things.
there. What
Yeah.
denomination was she that they allowed her to practice Reiki? And maybe we shouldn't give it all away. Maybe it's a little more under the covers. And then
Yeah, I think it's a little more under. It was just a special situation. She was in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, before she had retired. When she was doing that, she was also a therapist. So she would help troubled teens. So that was like a full-time job that she did for, I think it's called Catholic Services out there.
Oh, yes,
So,
yes.
I was, I guess, officially Catholic through my childhood, and then I was unofficially Catholic after that. And it's a funny thing. I think a lot of ex-Catholics relate to this. Didn't want to have anything to do with any of it for a while, but then came back to have my own relationship with Jesus, my own relationship with the two Marys, my own relationship with all of that, and that resonated with me.
I've
So,
heard this before
mm,
about people who have come from the Catholic religion, that if there's something repelling about it, but ultimately that basic essence that they carry about prayer and the Christ light
yeah,
and the both Marys, which were really his partner, and also the mother was his teacher, his avatar.
right.
It's very,
Oh,
very interesting to me. I want to go back to something that you said that jumped out at me. And we don't hear about it a lot right now because of COVID and because of the way the politics went. And folks, we're not talking about that. We don't do that on this show. That's for somebody else's show, not mine,
sure.
because we could, but it's doing nothing but inflaming and harming at this point.
Mm,
There is no healing in disagreeing about these things. There's none, because we're not listening to each other. There's none. All right. I want to go back to, you said about being bullied. I want to touch that for a moment, because there are still children out there amongst all this, I don't know what this is, this rampage of energy. And we don't have to, who knows where this session is going to go? Who knows? But there's something, when you said that, it jumped out at me as something that needs to be spoken about and brought
sure,
forth for someone to hear, you know.
sure. I mean, what I could say about it is, I mean, we come into this world, and people watching your show, I'm sure, understand this. We chose what we came here to experience.
And what if they don't? You know, we may have somebody who comes on and goes, "What is this?" And goes, "Bloop," and goes, "Whoa."
Let's say they don't, there's not that understanding and just
Right,
how to deal with it on the face of it.
right.
Sure. So it's helpful to recognize that whether you're a bully or someone who is bullied, that there is an energy that's present, a vibration that is you're at least temporarily locked into and attracted to. And someone who is being bullied might not understand that right away. So what does that mean? What do you mean? I don't think I'm doing anything. Say, okay, well, um, instead of addressing that head on, then if they're just wanting an end to the pain, then I would recommend stepping back from a discussion like this, which because I'm all about, we're empowered, we're in charge, we're at cause, and the sooner you get that, the better, the more empowered you are. But that's not a conversation everyone wants to have, and that's okay.
Yeah.
So
And some children can't hear that. They don't know that yet. There's no
yes, and
place in the brain to put it.
yeah, and there's no one in their life supporting that for them.
Right.
So that's very interesting. I never thought this before, and what's opening up to me right now is just for that person. I would say to them, I'm gonna tell you, you are awesome. By the way, you are magnificent, whether anyone has told you that or not. And if I'm the first, then let it be so, and I won't be the last. Now, and that said, we should be telling ourselves that all the time, because if we've heard the opposite a lot, it tends to go in there as programming, and we tend to not even question it. It's not so. It doesn't have to be, and we can break that program. But in the short term, for yourself right now, if you find yourself in this situation, I would say get some time to yourself. Literally go out into nature. Nature is a great place to just collect your thoughts, actually connect to your being and know yourself. And we know this at certain levels, but until people really get it, when you really get it, it's really special. And then that helps you actually transport yourself to the beach, to the park that has those big trees. You know which one I'm talking about. It's near you, right?
Mhm.
And go there. Don't just think about it. Actually go, put your back up against a tree and get what nature and what the universe has to give you there. It goes beyond words. Your specialness, my specialness, but we're talking about you right now. Your specialness, your awesomeness is your birthright. And you may have heard that, and you can know it deeper when you actually give yourself 5 minutes with it. Go there, let it sink in, be that, and just start there. Starting there with a connection with yourself leads to a belief in yourself, leads to a knowing of yourself. You don't have to trump up charge. You don't have to force anything. You don't have to, you can just know it and just know it deeper. And yes, there are people that we hear in podcasts like this and in conversations, and we listen to different things, we get inspired. Great, take those things. But more than anything, take what you have to say for yourself. And you have to say a lot. Your soul is speaking to you. There is a small, quiet voice that's in the background for most of us, but it comes into the foreground when we allow it. And that's part of the game here. It's there to help us, but we have to be intentional. We have to say, been through some hard times lately. Let me take off my shoes and my socks, put them in the dirt, put them in there just like I did as a kid when it felt so good to do it. Let me put it in the grass and let me drink some water and let me take some breaths. And when you go to the breath, something special happens, right? Because you go to your breathing, you're really in tune with yourself. And the other thing going to your breathing does is it puts your brain on pause. And we need to do that sometimes because the ego mind sometimes takes over. It's got that chatter, 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 chatter. It's got that ticker tape of conversation. Sometimes it's not positive. It's just going, going, going. Oh, you're stupid. Well, what are you doing at this park? Don't you know you have things to do? This 45 minutes or hour and a half you're spending, you can be. When you start to picture your breathing, picture going inside and your lungs expanding, deeper the better, lower and your lungs the better. All of a sudden you're there and those thoughts stop. And what happens is something I can't even describe. The words fail because it's beyond words, it's beyond thoughts. And that's there's spirituality 101, 201, I would say, is we're addicted to our thoughts. We think way too much, which sounds really strange to our thinker, our brain, right? Because that's all it wants to do. But then when we just go out and relax, we don't even have to have the conversation. You just be, or you sit by the ocean, or you sit by a lake, put your feet in the water and the dirt, and just be. It's its own answer. It's all the questions and answers rolled into one, and you get to be with yourself. You get to know yourself. You get to feel your power. You stand in your power, sit in your power, and cultivate that. Let that grow. Let it come out. Take yourself through a meditation. Listen to all those wonderful guided meditations on YouTube. Type in guided meditation on YouTube, my higher self, or whatever subject you want, and listen to that, or create your own. Imagine yourself in your favorite place, even if you are in a wonderful place. I don't know. If you're in a wonderful place, you don't need to imagine another place, but whatever you want to do. And that's it. It's up to you. And cultivate that, grow that. Start with 5 minutes, go to 30 minutes, and you start to understand. And by the way, a lot of times, going back to the bullying, you don't have to do very much when you do a lot of that. Self-care, self-love, which we're not taught. We have to do it for ourselves. Grab that, take that advice, go. And when you give yourself that, your vibration changes, your energy changes, and you change the universe. They say to change the world, change yourself. That's where it happens. Yes. All of a sudden, you slowly realize you're not attracting the same things. You still have to deal with some things. You deal with them, and you learn and grow. But that I think is the seed to starting to care for yourself, love yourself, and then you get to embody yourself. You get to be yourself. Then you go to, oh, what's my purpose? Am I here for a reason? Heck yeah, you're here for a reason. I believe I chose it, but I had to remember it. And that's the game we play here. So I came here to know that. We all did, I believe. And the sooner we can get to that, the better. But I'm not going to beat myself up for it, however much time it took or how much time it takes or whatever happened today, and be kind to myself. Everything is perfect. The journey, it's about the journey. And if anyone's listening to this conversation and they're sharing this with us, beautiful. That's,
I would like to add several
sure,
things.
please.
This too shall pass. Scott and I both were bullied. Therapist made a lot of money off of me. Like, it was a fair exchange for that and other modalities. I had to do other outside healing things. And if you're a child and a young person who's still being bullied, ask for help. There's many places to get help out there. Don't sit silent in it. It will pass. You can be better for it. Forgiveness will come at some time. You don't have to be a martyr or victim to it, but you have a right to where you're standing because you're a young one. Also, get on our coattails. Many of the elders and the adults have been bullied. We come from generations where that was just what it was. It was never talked about. There wasn't things out there that would stand, people would stand up for us. It was just one of those silent conditions we carried. But we have transmutated that into like an airstream behind us. So catch that airstream so that you may move quicker out of this place and get what Scott was talking about, which is the divinity in you, the reason you're here, whether it's to pet a dog, smile at a neighbor, or change the world, because all those things do that. And the end of the day, the minute we really get to know each other, the world really starts changing.
It does. And I'm so glad you brought up all that, because that's a whole component. I'll speak to that too. It's like, if it's happening and you're in pain and whatnot, I would also say, find an ally, find a friend, find a mentor, find somebody, even if you feel ashamed, because shame is one of the tools of the bully, even if they don't know they're using it, but it keeps people quiet. But if you share and you get someone on your side, not only can they help you, guide you, protect you, just give you guidance. Just knowing there's someone else on your side is wonderful, even if it's, and follow your intuition on who that would be. Follow your intuition on anything. Listen to your intuition. You keep saying, oh no, I'm not going to do that. And that's not it's popping up for a reason. It's your soul telling you, tell that person, get their support. It will help you. This isn't the life you're meant to live. This is a cycle. Maybe there was a reason for you to experience it. I don't know. I can't speak to your situation, but definitely get support. I would say that.
And I'm thinking, as you're talking about the flower of life, the matrix, we've always been part of the matrix here. The Merkaba, the grid work, the flower of life form. It is just becoming so evident. So from the youngest of young to the oldest of old and everyone in between, we're all on this grid. We're all standing somewhere like little lights on the ley lines of eternity. And I believe that, and Scott, perhaps you can speak about this, two things that we're exceptionally beautiful and powerful beings without being egotistical. And also to talk about how with the magazine, and because you're that magazine, you're part of that magazine, your energies, it's like the flower of life is in that magazine, right? Let's talk about how bringing all these different walks of expressions of living. I will not call this alternative anymore, because it's been around a longer time than medicine.
Very mainstream.
We're not going to talk medicine as wrong, because without the medical doctors, I wouldn't be sitting here. I tell you that for sure.
I love allopathic medicine. I'm using them too.
Yes. I wound up with a doctor who has half of his cabinet is allopathic, the other is homeopathic. So, pray for it. It will come. It may come. It came when I finally wound up in the emergency room with an NG tube in my node. There he was, but that's what it took. What a humbling experience. It got me out of judging others when they were ill.
Sure.
It changed my life. See, we're going to change whether we do all this other, go to see healers or get readings, because we've come here to morph and change, but in a good way, in a collective and individual way. And don't you think that's daunting, but good to be individual, but at the same time, and have to morph there, and at the same time be part of that community cycle? Because what you're doing is taking individuals with their different ways of expressing, and you bring them together in a magazine. I know you have articles in that magazine. So why don't we talk about that a little bit, and then that same multi-dimensional magazine, and then I want to talk about your last statement here, because that's really beautiful, that last statement.
Thank you.
I don't know if that makes sense. You can start somewhere. That was a lot,
Well, you mentioned the collective and the individual, and what stands out to me is I do it for me, for sure. I don't think
that's so interesting. Can you elaborate?
Sure. I don't think we should do anything for the collective unless we're doing it for ourselves first, because I think even in the Bible, it says, do it for love or don't do it at all. If people are doing things for reasons outside of them, you're not only not going to be fulfilled, it's going to be a temporary fulfillment, because you're filling a hole, you're filling something in the ego. But if you're doing it from your essence, because it's what you're meant to do, not only does that feel good, but feel good is what we're frequently told is the path to doing what you're meant to do here. And absolutely, I think if someone doesn't feel good about what they're doing, and they're doing something that maybe has some benefit, I say stop right away. That's not what you're here to do. Do you? If you believe, as I do, that this is all an illusion, this is a game. It's a game that appears to have high stakes. A lot of people think they die. I do not think they die. I believe we're eternal beings, and we can go. There's a lot of evidence of that and all that. But once you know that, once you have a knowing of that, I have a knowing of that, it changes everything. It's like, okay, so I'm going to do for me. Now that sounds selfish. You say, well, what about the collective? Why don't you? It's like, well, it works both ways. I believe when we come here to do something that is in our alignment with ourselves, that is automatically for the collective. If someone is meant to fix pipes and be a plumber, and they love it, thank God we need plumbing like no other, right?
Right.
But it's a beautiful thing. It's what they're meant to do, and it shows. I have a group on Facebook called the Radiance Experience, and people can find that and join. And we like to ask questions. And today's question was, do you notice when someone cooks food and they didn't really care about what they were cooking? Do you kind of notice that? Do you notice when someone puts a lot of love into what they're making? Just, that tastes so, and I believe you do. I believe you do notice. And then sure enough, people were saying, oh my God, yeah, well, my mom made a PB&J. I said, it always tasted the best. And because my mom said it was made with love. That's one lady said. Oh. And, and so there you go. It's infused with love, and you're having a good time, and so that's the magazine. I hope it serves, and a lot of people get a lot out of it, I believe, but I have to do it for myself first. And I'm learning, and it's one of the best jobs ever, because I get to work with people who are having these kinds of conversations, right, all the time, and they're writing about this sort of thing, and what the cutting edge is of wellness technology, or where we're going as human beings, what's happening with this age of Aquarius, and the rise of the sacred feminine, and what that means for all of us, and more of the sacred feminine rising in all of us. And these conversations are awesome. So it's a gift to be able to do it, which is why I don't mind delivering it either. Every 2 months when it comes out, 600 locations, I'm out there 6 nights, about 100 locations a night. And at night, it's the only way to do it. I go out about 8 or 9 o'clock at night, and I stop at 4 or 5 in the morning, depending on how tired I am. And I deliver to these places, right? I put it on their doorstep, the yoga studio in the downtown area, or, the health food store, or the cool coffee house, the one that allows spiritual independent thought to be in there, whereas like a Starbucks wouldn't, but this little coffee house does. And I just feel blessed. And occasionally a friend will come with me, and because it's actually kind of fun driving around Southern California at night. It's really lit up, and you get to see the cities and these beach towns at night, and it's fun. So it's all of a package, all of a collection or collective, and like I said, I feel blessed to do it.
You know, years ago, I don't know if you heard Marianne Williamson say this, when the first big 2008 or something, when everything bottomed and people really lost their jobs. I was somewhere, I was watching her. I was actually in the theater downtown in LA. I forget what that theater she used to speak out of. And
Okay.
she looked at all of us. She said, come on, admit it. Most of you hated your jobs anyway. Don't you think that's why it was
Yes,
dropped off? I mean, she can be like so profoundly spiritual and at the
true.
same time cut right through it. And she has said something else that has stuck with me. Crying, you all should be crying every day for what goes on out in that world. And she said something else. She said, I'll tell you what, let's sit around the table, all these men who want to buy their airplanes and their war machines. You bring some women to that table, and when you can feed every child on this earth, we'll talk to you about your war things.
Agreed. You know, and I even learned that from Ava Park of the Goddess Temple in Irvine. She taught me that matriarchal societies include men.
Yes.
And as you know, because they are all about community and getting everyone's input. And I thought that's fascinating. So I'm all for it, because if that's what it takes to get, well, and you know, there's more women in more positions now, certainly in America and other countries, but we have a long way to go in the boardrooms and everything. But everything is perfect. This is the world we designed that we wanted to come into.
Mm-hmm.
And as many of us know, if you want something different, you change your vibration. And well, some people believe also that we're just going into different time streams all the time, and you make a little shift and all of a sudden you're in a different time stream, you know, different things. So
That
I do
happened to me
believe.
twice as a child. Freaked me out. I didn't know at the time that I had stepped into a different reality. Twice it happened to me within a several month period when I was young. But
Sounds like there was more than just subtle changes.
yeah, oh yes. Like when I tied my dog up to go into the dry cleaners, came out and the dog was not there. And I
Yeah.
walked around the block 4 times, went back to the dry cleaners, came back out, walked around 3 more times, came back and the dog was tied up. Now either somebody took the dog and was playing a nasty trick on me, you know, or I had stepped into a same reality, just with a little bit of a shift to it.
Sure.
I didn't know it.
Yeah.
You know, when you were speaking, I was thinking, see if I can catch that thought again, because it was really interesting to me. Well, maybe it'll come back. I really do hear, you know, what I'm thinking as you're talking is I really do hear the spirituality of your religion, not, you know, not the punishment of it. I hear.
Well, I don't have a religion, but I think I know what you mean.
From what you were brought up on, that, not, you know, the power of it, not the punishment of it.
Sure, absolutely.
You know, the grace and mercy of Christ's word, or of his energy, you know, of what he brought for our teachings.
Absolutely. I mean, you know, I talked to a born again Christian recently, and of course she was, you know, liked hearing that I have a great relationship with Jesus.
Mm-hmm.
And it's absolutely, I mean, the figure of Jesus, and whether we address him as an archetype or we envision just a certain vision. I mean, I love every time I come across one of those pictures. There's so many different pictures of Jesus that come up, even though I don't follow too many Christians in my timeline on Facebook. They still pop up, and they're so beautiful. And I'll clip it and send it to my mom, because she doesn't do too much Facebook, and she loves them. You know, I love them too, all those different expressions. And
yeah, because I believe he was a very powerful teacher, and he was showing us through parable and analogy exactly where human beings were going to go, even in the crucifixion, the crucifixion, which we're trying to end now in our energy fields, to the resurrection. One of my teachers used to say, you know, everybody wants to ascend, but they forget we have to resurrect first, you know, to the resurrection, and then the ascension process of living in a community that is really of a much higher frequency, but has the wisdom to accept and bow their heads to all that has come before them. We can't turn our faces away, even if we don't like it from all the years of the Dark Ages. It must be honored, right? You know?
What do you mean by honored?
Like, yeah, that happened.
Mm-hmm.
That happened.
Sure.
It may not be that way anymore, That's why I said to
Yeah.
you, who was Scott? Who is Scott now? Yes, that happened.
Oh,
That
sure.
Scott has become, Melissa Etheridge says it in one of her songs, I will never understand all the things, I will never understand all the things that have happened. All I know is they've made me who I am.
Sure. And I, I don't dwell too much on the past or the
No,
future, right? Because we're not
no.
staying
You
present.
stand,
But
you stand in the
yeah, I can acknowledge certain things. Absolutely. I like to do that. And acknowledge who I was. Sometimes you come across an old picture and you're like, oh yeah, the war. I'm not even anywhere near that person anymore. I'm just
yeah.
such a different person. I've made so many shifts and timeline jumps and um,
Talk to me about timeline jumps for a minute. And also
oh, okay.
talk to me, yes, I catch things. I may be looking another way, but my ears listening. Um, and also about how you help amplify what wellness practitioners are doing for our well-being. I'm reading this verbatim right now, folks, because um, I'm a little older. My brain doesn't retain as much as it
Mhm.
used to. Not that it really did. I usually have to go back and look at things.
That's okay. I think we're letting go of a lot of memories and things anyway as we ascend, as we purify and clarify who we are. I think it's okay to let go of memories. And in
Mhm.
fact, I've let go even of a lot of old pictures. Like, well, I've purged, I've let, I think we go through that sometimes, and I'm doing it for some other reasons too, but I purge a lot of things and even a lot of old pictures. I'll keep some. I have children, but it's the joy of the present right now is unbeatable. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Rather than ruminate on nostalgia and things that can come with other energies that don't serve us.
No.
Well, the bottom line is anything where we're giving away our power, I don't want to do that anymore. Anything where
Mhm.
I am empowered, I want to do that. So,
Mhm. Mhm. So how are you magnifying this for?
and amplifying the
Yeah.
wellness practitioner's message.
Yes.
I love, well, for instance, okay, let's say when someone buys a page in the magazine and to share their wonderful message, either of healing or of a product they made or something. I work with them. Either me or one of my editors works with them and says, okay, how do we want to do this? What's the best? I'm seeing there. I knew that the wind closed that door. Um, I, um, I like to work with them. I like to get into it because sometimes I like to hear in that practitioner's words what they do, what's special about their practice, what uh, testimonials they've gotten, what benefits people get from what they do. And and sometimes they'll say, oh, I got this article, and they'll write something and it has 7 points that are really, important to them. And I say, well, for this page, and knowing how people are flipping through, if we sharpen it to 3 or 4 points, that could be more succinct. And then if you want to do a continuation to your website and they can read the other points in your website, that would be even better, as opposed to being more exhaustive and more. I want people to be enlivened and tickled or activated, engaged when they read these. And if they're interested, reach out to that person. A lot of people, especially their first time hiring a healer or getting a coach in their life or getting a mentor, it's a big step to take sometimes. Once they do it, they realize, oh, this is great. I'm going to do this, whenever I feel like it, whenever there's something up with me. But it's just a great thing. And I encourage it and I put it out there and I say, here's some awesome people that have studied, have plumbed the depths of their own spirit and soul, and have the scars maybe or of trauma that they've overcome. And so they know they've been there before. So they know how to walk that walk. And they, like people like you and people will be attracted to you who resonate with your message. And the more pure you are, the more clear you are, the more honest and authentic you are with what you do, and the same with the magazine, the more people will attract. And so that's why I used to hide. I used to, sometimes, and people would call me out on sometimes too. It called me even as recently a couple of years ago. They'd say, your posts on Facebook are clever or smart or deep, but they're still a little distant. You're still distancing yourself. You're not putting yourself out there really. And a couple of smart people, pointed that out to me. And that helped me see that that's right. I am hiding out. It's like, I'm a person like everybody, and we're on this journey, and okay, now I have some knowings. I say that different than beliefs that might be different from a lot of people. And actually that I was afraid that people would think I was weird or the weird thing, right? For thinking this. And it's like, it's okay. They're going to think things anyway. Might as well have people judge you for who you are, and then if you're being who you are, then you attract the people who are much like you, and you can co-create with those like-minded, like-hearted people. And everyone else can just do what they're doing. That's their journey.
Yes, so we'll have circles within circles, but we're all connected, each and every one of us.
Oh yes, absolutely,
Right.
absolutely.
So,
in fact, not only are they all connected, they're all me.
well, that's a great jump off, but that might be for another conversation because we got 45 minutes. Well, why don't we talk about that? Because I understand we're all connected, we're all one mind, one heart, one being. I get that, but sometimes I don't go all the way into that, because for me, it feels like it leaves the great creator out in some ways. There's something larger than even you and I that's functioning and running.
Is
Not that
there?
it's not in us, but we're just not there yet on all, what do they call that? The spark plugs on all cylinders just yet in itself. I mean, I really get a little hesitant about that, but I want to hear your side. I mean, this is not just for me, this is for whomever's going to listen, whatever this is about.
I understand your hesitation. It's not every day that a person decides to say and to understand or know or say, I am God. And I say that.
Okay, so 2 questions. Elaborate on that. That's a good statement, sorry. And the other one is, where does wisdom come from?
Okay. Wisdom's everywhere. God is everywhere. We're everywhere. And that's why when I say that everyone is me, you are me, and the person watching this is me, I am them. And that goes beyond brothers and sisters from other mothers. I mean, it's if you're into oneness, then that's what it is.
And I hear the Beatles song "Cuckoo Cuckoo."
Yes.
Right.
I am the walrus. I am the oneness.
Right.
Yeah, it does sound similar, doesn't it?
For those of
Yep.
you not old enough, go look up a Beatles song. Which one is that? I'm the Walrus. And listen to it. You'll know what I'm saying. The cuckoo cuckoo. So go ahead.
Yeah, for those who are too young, go to the encyclopedias and crack them open. No, it's prevalent. In fact, a lot of younger people love the Beatles. They're just, yeah, they hit on some universal things that just continue through. Yeah, if you believe oneness and we're all one, in fact, quantum physics has shown we're all one. That look into the quantum physics, and you don't even have to go on your computer for that. You can go into your own quantum field. So we went from
I love controversy. Go ahead.
encyclopedias to computers to our own field that's around us. So the wisdom is everywhere. Tap in. It's there. As far as all of us being one, yeah, some people feel a little safer or saying, I'm a spark of the infinite. I'm a child of God. Okay. Yeah. And you're God. Because it's my belief, it's my knowing. I believe we incarnated to experience and feel and experience soul an expansion of our spirit. And and that's the purpose, the reason for life, to experience. So how can you do that? You got to forget you're God. You got to come down from the rain cloud. You were the rain up there or in the ocean before it picked up the rain, and you're the drop that doesn't remember it's the ocean, it's the rain, it's all of it, right? Until you could say death. The metaphor is that the raindrop reaches the ocean, and then it's the ocean now. Where's the drop in the ocean? It's all one and the same, right? So here we are as individuated versions of God with no memory. We come in, we're born, we're crying, we feel this, we feel that. And maybe our dad yells at us. Maybe there's stuff. But I say this, and you know, we're having this kind of elevated conversation, so I can say it, right? It's we
Right.
chose. I'm gonna say I chose this life. I chose everything, and
And
I
by the way,
shared with
that's not to
you.
blame ourselves or not. Other people are responsible for their behavior. It's a very
No,
fine line. I mean, it's a big fat setup anyway because we've all chosen it. Like one of my teachers looked at a man in one of our circles one day, and he was crying. He said, "Remember, you really are innocent." And but he didn't
truly,
say it
truly.
like he didn't say it like, well, you don't have to make apologies for any of that. He was saying in a way, the tone of his voice was like, oh, we all are really. It's all just what's going on
You
here.
know, and there's so many directions to come at this from. Like
I
I've
know.
mentioned three,
I
four,
know.
five things. You have too. There's so many ways, but then when you start to put it together and you really start to, you have your conversations with yourself out in nature, because you don't need to listen to us. You don't need to go, and certainly don't listen to a lot of the talking heads on TV who are talking
Yeah,
out of the
mainstream right
ego.
now. That's all fear. It's all fear. That's my opinion.
Well,
You know.
well, a lot of it is, and we know it, we hear it, and I move away from that because yeah, it's not in alignment with me. And the more you get in alignment with yourself,
Right.
the more you're sensitive to those things, the more you don't even want them. So there's even certain movies I'll turn off that I might have watched, you know, a few years ago, and it's just okay, there's a little too much going on in this area. It's got some good stuff here, but it's got some other stuff. I'm just not going to do that.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
it's nice to be in a relationship with a partner who feels the same way, which I
Yeah,
totally,
isn't that a good thing? So what I
yeah.
was thinking, and I remember what I thought you were talking. Yes, the divine feminine is still on the rise, but what I know from spirit, because they've been talking about this for at least 7 years to me, is the women are really done. They've cleaned the river so the men can get in, all that guilt and fear and hurt can be washed aside, because ultimately we will be walking shoulder to shoulder, not just internally with the male female, but externally, men and women walking together to show the world the balance and to bring the balance of harmony to
Sure.
this place.
Yeah.
And I want to talk to you, as I said that, when I was looking at your bio before I got online with you, I kept hearing the word music. How does music fit into your life, Scott?
Mm. You know, music is a vibration that defies, that goes past the ego mind, just transports, and it can lull you. It can do many things, and it's a great tool, especially if you're depressed. You know, move around or don't move around, just lay down and listen. It's a great tool. It's one maybe we don't use as much as we can, but it's so beautiful. And I love all kinds. I love being inspired. I love hanging out with people, different people, where they'll share their music, and so I can get, we sometimes get locked into our own musical tastes, and we
Yeah,
don't know where to
yes.
go, and people don't know about, hey, listen to Julieta Venegas. Julieta Venegas is great. I don't understand all the words. I can look them up, but it's uplifting, empowering, joyful music spoken in Spanish.
Do you feel it in your body?
Yes, in my
Me too.
body and beyond, my
Yeah,
field.
yeah, the whole
You
field.
know,
I have a soul portrait that says music fills the soul. Mm-hmm.
absolutely. In fact, I think you could look as a perspective. We are music.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You know, we're
Absolutely.
energy and motion, energy and beautiful motion.
Frequency, sound, and vibration.
Mhm.
Right? And we place it in motion. You know what Spirit said to me years ago? I wonder if you have any words for this before I get into that wonderful last statement of yours. I think we're already in it talking about it. And that isn't the way the universe works. I was doing group channeling towards the end of the year from some women in Pennsylvania, and they said any questions, and they did not look over here, and someone had put a question. They answered the question, then turned and looked at it, and it was the question they answered. So I forgot where I was going with that. Do you ever have that happen? Don't you just hate when that
Music.
happens?
You wanted me to put words to
Yeah.
something that
Oh,
you
God.
thought about music, or
Oh, get off of my own. See, this is what happens when you get self-involved. Okay, so we were talking about music and how you feel through your whole body and through the whole field, the whole range,
Mhm.
and the harmony of all that. I think we keep coming back to this whole thing about harmony. This whole thing about every time you're speaking, it's about where's the harmony, where's the balance, where's the God source. in all things. And that was not my question. It'll probably pop in as we end, like 2 o'clock in the morning. I'll go, oh, that's what I wanted to say then. And so,
Shoot me a text, not at 2, but later.
yeah, right. All right, so let's look at that last thing, because that really touched me. And support their expansion as beautiful souls. Highest purpose and support their expansion as beautiful souls. Let's end on something you would say about that, about people, about yourself, about those that you have been intimate with and connected to, on a, closer, they say closer home, thinner, part of the lesson.
I think any conversation like this that we're having is intimate. I mean, when you share the love and like this, and you go beyond the usual, the normal, the mainstream, if you will, it's intimate because it's unusual, and it's maybe rare, but it's beautiful. And when people do that, it's wonderful. And you look, because it'd be easy to talk and just put a veneer up. I wanted to say one thing from before. We talked about that we choose our existence, right? I wanted to say I have cancer right now, and so people might say, oh, he can say you choose your when life is quote unquote good, but it's like, oh, I have a challenge. I got a challenge, but I don't see it as a challenge in the traditional sense that most people do. I'm working with it. I'm listening for the lessons. I have heard the lessons. I've been processing it, and I'm working with holistic and allopathic experts to help me with it. But yeah, I did choose it. And because anything, and by the way, I know that anything that happens to me, anything, is for my highest and best good, which is such an empowering place to stand.
It's a very powerful statement, almost mind-boggling. And right behind you say, I have cancer. It is.
Yeah. It's I mean,
it's beyond words, actually, what you just said.
Well, and the thing is, I may not know right away every time something happens to me why it's for my highest and best good. In fact, sometimes it's there's a time where they say there's a time to harvest, and there's a time to dance, there's a time to sing, and there's a time to work and plant seeds. And sometimes there's a time to suffer. Sometimes there's a time to let pain happen, to acknowledge it, and because actually anger over something is better than depression, is higher on the scale, they say, than depression. Depression is higher than other things too. So we move up the scale, we honor those things, and we move through them. We don't stay too, don't live there. Don't live in anger. Don't live in depression. But anger, because anger is like, okay, there's a fierce, there's something, all right, I'm working through this. I don't want this. And then you keep going. I've done those. I've done all those. Absolutely. Sometimes in one day.
Right.
So, but all for my highest and best good. You and I, we've come to levels of knowledge and understanding and knowing that was hard earned because we went through it. But that's why we came here. And that's why so many souls, as you know, millions, billions, come here to experience this thing called Earth, to experience being human, put on the biosuit, and go through these things. It's a gift. And that doesn't mean every moment of our life we're going to stand around and going, this is a gift.
Yeah,
we're not going to feel that all the time.
For everything that's happening at the moment.
Sure. We
will cry, we will rant, we will think that we're hated by God, we will go through all sorts of things.
Absolutely.
Remember that we're human too.
Absolutely. And that's part of being human. Those programs that come in, because we weren't trained and taught. We were trained and taught as we were. It was, our parents did the best they could. And we get to a point where we understand that they were doing the best they could with what they knew. And the schools, okay, we're in an age of, we're sitting in classrooms. Well, not anymore. We're Zooming a lot, and that might help break things up in a positive way. But you have to sit in these rows, and you're a number more than a human being. I think it's Finland and some of these other countries have it right when they take the kids out of the class and they go out and they talk about the trees while they're hugging a tree, standing next to a tree. They talk about the ecosystems of things and how things connect, as opposed to assembly line learning
Yeah, the
that has no
industrial.
connection to anything. You got to memorize dates and places. I can see us moving into more of this kind of organic learning for our kids and teaching of the kids.
It's powerful because we're coming back. We started about Earth and we're going to finish with some statement on Earth. That I had a teacher who I only was with him for a week, Nakua. He lived in Hawaii, and myself and my partner went to Hawaii to work with Hank Westman and his wife, not knowing that he was going to bring his teacher in. And his teacher was talking about, is very a highly evolved spiritual teacher of that area of Hawaiian Islands, how he saw and he wanted to promote new types of schooling for the children, where they were with the crystals, where they were being taught the ways of high energy, which they already have in their systems, and not necessarily all the industrial things. I'm glad we have 010101 because it's, as you mentioned very quickly, and I've always said it, this is the next step to telepathy as a common form of communication. Yeah,
it's coming. It's here for a lot of people. Actually, there's people doing it, twins and others. Yeah.
Yes, right. So so he really was speaking about that. He actually died the 7th day after teaching us in a horrific car accident in Papua. And it came to speak to a group of us. We had stayed a few days. He said, and my teacher at the time said, that's how you know he had come, because any indigenous person would say, do not dwell on my death, dwell on my life and learn from it.
Sure.
So let's end with what you said a moment ago about the organicness of living, which is the earth can heal us faster than anything and can teach us faster.
And it is all the time, whether we are open to listening is up to us, and getting out there with it is the best. You don't have, if you can't get to a park or there's something you can do. If you can,
sit out on the terrace and look down at the tree.
Yep. And your cat, I saw your cat in the background at the very beginning of this interview, and oh yeah, I bet it just a bunch of love there, I bet.
Yeah. Oh yeah, she's like mi casa, su casa.
Yeah.
Her
house,
my house, your house. It's her house first, of course.
Exactly.
Then my house. So, Scott, let's do some just practical things because we're going to close in a moment. Where can people contact you at to become part of the magazine or to speak to you, etc.?
Well, I have an email, scott@radiancemm.com. And you go to radiancemm.com to read the magazine for free. And you can click on the articles, or you can click on a digital copy of it where you're able to actually flip the pages, which is harder to read on a phone. So you might want to just click on the regular articles. It's easier to read on the phone. And enjoy all the great writers and holistic contributors and teachers that are in there. That's how you'll be able to reach me.
Okay, thank you. Scott, it's been a pleasure. My name is Maya Victoria. You're listening to the podcast, Wise Woman Podcast. Join us again next week on Tuesdays at 2 p.m. I will have a myriad on all walks of life, all different ways of looking at things, because we are the Diamond Effect. We are the Rainbow Clan. We are here to be able to find the common ground amongst the differences and still be of unity. You can contact me at amaya@amayacenter.com. My website is amayacenter.com. Facebook is Amaya Center or Amaya Victoria, either one. Twitter is Amaya Victoria. I have to remember these things. And what's the other? Instagram is Amaya Center, I believe. So I'm glad you're here. I'm so glad to be able to help you all, you wonderful, beautiful people, you. Now we're going to go out with the prayer for the teachers and the manual for the teachers in the Course in Miracles. I used to have all 3 books. So long ago I read these things. And it says, and now in all your doings be you blessed. God turns to you for help to save the world. Teacher of God, his thanks he offers you. And all the world stands silent in the grace you bring from him. You're the son and daughter he loves, and is giving you to be the means through which his voice is heard around the world. To close all things of time, to end the sight of all things visible, and to undo all things that change. Through you is ushered in a world unseen, unheard, yet truly there. Holy are you, and in your light, the world reflects your holiness, for you are not alone and friendless. I give thanks for you and join your efforts on behalf of God, knowing they are on my behalf as well. And for all those who walk to God with me, I say, thank you and amen. Thank you, Scott. Thank you for being, for honoring me and saying yes to this. Thank you, you wonderful people. God bless all of you. Remember, love is the only answer because love has always been the only question. God bless, Godspeed, and don't forget to breathe.
Thank you.